Right. Hi. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to try to use rhetoric to explain why things haven't changed from the Second World War. What we're told about the Nazis and what they did, it's basically now this whole world is an internment camp. You know, with all the same things happening right under everyone's noses. But we're taught that, you know, the Nazis were evil, but they were defeated at the end of the Second World War, and now everybody's safe, right? I just want to make it clear that this is not at all true, and things have not changed. And it's like in fact, it's probably worse than it was in the Second World War in the internment camps. All the same things apply. Also, whilst I'm talking about this, and while I'm thinking about making this video, there's chills going down my spine. You know, I'm really frightened. You know, there's a lot of fear about making this video because what it is, okay, murder. They were apparently, right, what we're told is that they used to put undesirable people, what they considered undesirable people, into gas chambers and kill them with gas, right? Zyklon B gas or something, some sort of cyanide. It would have been a quick death, maybe a bit painful, but within a few minutes you're dead, right? Not that bad. Apparently, in some places, we still kill people, like murderers and stuff. We kill them, right? In a lot of places around the world, if you're a murderer, that you get put to death. You know, you get shot or electrocuted or have a lethal injection. You know, we murder people who are murderers, right? We give them what they've, you know, like an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It's common all around the world. People do that, right? So, if somebody's got an illness like cancer and we've got a medicine that cures that illness and the doctors don't give that medicine to that person, how is that any different from murder? It's actually worse because the person's going to suffer terribly for months or years before they die. So it's like a combination of murder and torture. And even poisoning, when they give you like medicine that actually is going to make it worse, like radiation, which causes cancer. So I'm surrounded by, and you are surrounded by, a whole bunch of murderers, like the government and all the whole medical establishment, the doctors. They're all murderers and poisoners and torturers, right? How can it be otherwise? All the evidence is out there that cannabis cures cancer 100%. All types of cancer, it cures all of them. So why isn't it being prescribed? Why aren't we saving these people? Why are we torturing them and murdering them? Right. So in that sense, we are worse than what the Germans are supposed to have done. At least they made it quick. You know, they were efficient about killing people. Now we drag it out over a really long period of time and make people really, really, really suffer terribly. You know, we're monsters. We're monsters, and we're surrounded by monsters. See, this is doing the work, right? I'm doing standing in the truth, and I don't see anyone else doing it, you know. Maybe Rick Simpson. I've left a video of Rick Simpson on my G+ page. It's pinned to the page where he talks about all this stuff. You know, it's really hard to talk about. I understand why people don't talk about it, because it's really hard and it's frightening. You know, living in the truth is scary shit. It's like you're in a fucking horror movie all the time. You know, it's scary. But you have a duty, a civic duty, to do what is right. So if you're aware of murders and tortures going on right under your nose, you have a duty, a civic duty, you know, to tell people, to wake people up and say, look, we've got to stop this, right? Otherwise, how can you claim to be human? How can you haven't got any humanity if you don't try and stop murder and torture and slavery when it's going on right in front of your face? So this is the world I live in. It sounds awful, and it is. But the thing is, about doing the work and living in the truth, at least I'm doing something about it. You know, the thing is, it's very difficult to stop this stuff happening unless people talk about it. Basically, the only thing the only options you've got to do something about this is to talk about it. That's all you can do. But it's the least you can do, but it's all you can do as well. And if you don't do it, that's the only thing that is unacceptable. If you don't talk about it, your consent, your silent consent, is interpreted by law as agreement. You agree that it's okay for all these doctors and the government to be murdering hundreds of millions of people and torturing them, making their lives completely miserable by withholding the correct medicine for their illnesses. By doing nothing, you're agreeing that is okay. This is why I'm frightened, because I'm surrounded by people who are monsters. You know, it's really scary to know that there's hardly anyone on the planet who isn't a complete monster. This is part of living in the truth. Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud both agreed that most people would literally rather die than face up to who they are. Because really, with all this knowledge going, like I'm talking about, you'd have a look in the mirror and what's staring back at you is a monster. You know, a real fucking evil monster. You know, so that's why people would rather die than face up to who they are. Right? This is like that knowledge, that bit of knowledge that was in the Matrix when Neo goes to see the Oracle, and above her doorway it says "Know thyself." Same as what's written at the Oracle at Delphi in Apollo's temple in Greece. Ancient wisdom. See, knowing yourself, that's part of doing the work. It's a huge part. It's basically a big part of doing the work is knowing yourself. So you have to deal with this kind of knowledge. This is what it means to be a human being and to embrace your civic responsibility. You're a citizen of the planet. You've got to act like a good citizen. So a good citizen will try to prevent murder and torture. It's necessary. That's what you have to do. So you've got to either share this video or talk about this stuff. That's a civic responsibility. It's part of doing the work. Now, by getting this stuff off my chest and talking about it, that releases that burden of guilt. So I'm not guilty of all these things anymore because I'm talking about it and I'm trying to encourage other people to talk about it, because that's the only way anything's going to change. Otherwise, we're living in a world where innocent people are automatically murdered, you know, and tortured. Like 5% of the people who go to schools are visual thinkers, and learning a written word form of schooling that is dumbed down causes those people to be irreversibly traumatized. That's torture. You're ruining these people's lives. They're being punished for being different their whole lives. And what's so funny about it as well is that these are the same people who are talked about in the Bible as they're the saints. The people who are the prophets and who prophesy, they're going to be the saints. And the prophets used to be called the seers. And a seer is someone who sees. So it's a visual thinker. You know, these are the people that are being targeted by the school system and having their whole lives ruined, and they're being tortured for 10 years. And that totally ruins their life. And the only way they can feel normal is to use cannabis, which is prohibited. So it means that their life is going to be really miserable and incredibly expensive. They're going to be reduced to poverty, unable to make videos. Okay, there's another reason why people don't talk about this stuff. It's called denial, right? Now, the way denial works, if you've got long-term, deep denial, what happens is your brain starts producing endorphins, like pain-killing drugs, right? So you don't have to face the truth, because if you can't deal with the truth and you can't face it, it's like you'll go crazy if you have to deal with it, right? So your brain produces endorphins, so you don't have to deal with it. So you don't have to face reality. You don't have to look in the mirror and see a monster staring back at you. Cheers. Okay, I'm just going to make a cigarette. So yeah, denial. It turns people into like drug addicts, and not only does it turn them into drug addicts, I consider them to be, the vast majority of people are worse than normal drug addicts because they're not even aware that they're drug addicts. They have no sense of responsibility for their drug habit. At least someone who's a crackhead, or a heroin addict, or an alcoholic, at least they know that they're an alcoholic or a drug addict. They take responsibility for that. But the vast majority of people don't take responsibility for their drug habit. They're not even really aware of it. So as far as I'm concerned, they're worse. They're more dangerous and they're worse people than your average alcoholic or crackhead or junkie, Oh dear. Again, it's another reason why people don't like to look at themselves. They don't want to know who they are because there's a reprehensible fucking thug, a monstrous thug staring back at them in the mirror. The funny thing is, though, the ironic thing is, when you do the work, you can start becoming a better person, so you don't have to have that monster staring back at you. But if you don't do the work, it's always going to be there. It's this irony that, if you just do the work, you don't have to have a monster staring back at you. So it becomes easier to look at yourself and see who you are, see what sort of creature you are. Okay. There are other things as well that stop people talking about this stuff. Fluoride. We're being chemically subdued with the use of fluoride. It's in a lot of things. It's in plastic. So you're getting doses of fluoride even if you purify your water. It's everywhere. It's in the air. It's in plastic. All kinds of things have got fluoride in. It's unnatural forms of fluoride, and a lot of it's to basically keep people in check, keep people subdued and passive. They put fluoride in the water. When they first started using fluoride, it was put in the water in the internment camps in Germany in the Second World War. And since then, since the Allies won the war, they've just been trying to spread it everywhere, put it in water, toothpaste. If you use standard toothpaste, you're going to be having a dose of fluoride every day. That's going to keep you passive. You're not going to want to upset the apple cart. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to talk about the truth because you don't want to upset anyone. You don't want to. So what it does, it makes you guilty of all these crimes. You are the monster then, because you won't deal with the truth. You won't talk about it. That means it's not going to stop. If you don't talk about it, then how is it going to stop? If everybody's silent, and you all heard, you're all like a herd of sheep following each other and taking the example from everyone around you who's also a load of monsters, then that makes you a monster too. I don't really understand. I have a trouble understanding why there's this silence, this sort of wall of silence about these things that no one seems to talk about. I mean, David Icke talks about conspiracy theories, but I've never heard him talk about the truth, the real truth. He vaguely alludes to it, but I've never really heard him talk about cannabis. The fact that it cures cancer and stuff. Or that the school system targets visual thinkers who are the saints. I mean, the word saint comes from the Sanskrit word sant, S-A-N-T. It means seeker of truth. And Christ said, I am the truth, I am the way. None can get to the Father except through me. He didn't mean through him personally or what's written in the Bible. He means the truth. You know, you can't get to the Father, you can't get to heaven except through the truth. So this is what standing in the truth is. This is what it means to be a Christian, a true Christian. You have to live in the truth. You have to deal with it. You know, this is why it's like, you know, things haven't changed since the time of Christ. People are still like refusing to live in the truth. Oh, they manufacture fake truth. You know, this is what I've seen people doing. Like you know, like all these different Christian people that call themselves Christians, but they don't deal with the truth. You don't hear them talking about you know, the government being completely evil, or we're surrounded by monsters. You don't talk about it because they're just the same. They don't want to deal with the truth because it means having a good look at themselves, and they're going to see a monster and it's going to frighten them. So they just want an easy life. Anyway, I'm trying to encourage people to actually live in the truth because look, I'm here. I'm still alive. I feel great. You know, one of the reasons I feel that I'm able to get a lot of benefit from doing the work so far is because I'm prepared to stand in the truth and talk about this stuff. If I wasn't, I couldn't really enjoy making videos because it would be holding me back. And I would know that I'm being dishonest and I'm a terrible citizen. So I would be a bad person. You know, so that's how I can enjoy making videos and even deal with unpleasant subjects, you know, in a healthy way. You know, you won't die. Nothing terrible is going to happen to you if you live in the truth. In fact, most likely only good things will happen, you know. I managed to find the owner of the guitar that I had. I found a guitar in the street a few months ago. I found the owner of it and returned the guitar, and he gave me £50 for returning it. You know, it's a nice little treat. I wasn't using the guitar, you know, so it ended nicely, that little thing. You know, that sort of thing has been happening more. No one's ever given me £50 before, just for like, you know. So that was nice. You know, my health has been improving. You know, I think these things are like, if you've got like this guilt like weighing you down, which it is for most people, you know. Rick Simpson was talking in his video recently that he went to, I think, somewhere like Ukraine, and 70% of, before he went, 70% of people were against legalizing cannabis, right? And a week later, after he'd been there and done a seminar, only 30% of people were in favor of keeping cannabis legal. So it's just that one person, just him talking about the truth, has changed 40% of people. Millions of people have changed their attitude to cannabis just because of one person talking the truth. So that's just what one person can do can make a huge difference. So just imagine what 10,000 people speaking the truth can do. You know. Gandhi said, become the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. I probably didn't do a very good job of the rhetoric, you know. Hopefully, I mean, to me, as far as I can see, people have got they've got nothing to lose and everything to gain by living in the truth. It's just the fear that stops people. It's mainly the fear of some sort of retribution from the government. Are the government going to kill you if you speak the truth and name and shame them? You know, well, it's not happened, doesn't seem to happen that often, you know. You've got people like David Icke still rabbiting on about all these conspiracies and stuff, and he seems okay. Now, you could share this video. It's a bit long. You could just make your own video. That's really, or you could just talk to people. But do something, because doing nothing is like the worst thing you can do. It means you're not doing the work. You're not a real Christian. You're a monster. Or at least you're not human. You know, you're not really, you haven't got the real markers of what it means to be human. You don't really have a soul. If you can't speak the truth and live in the truth, you can't have a soul. You know, not one of any consequence anyway. And by talking about it, you just feel better. You know you're doing the right thing, and so you get a good feeling. You know that you're out of 8 billion people, you're one of a small handful of real decent proper human beings, and the vast majority of other people are just like asleep. They're like zombies. And that paints an unpleasant picture, but it's like coming out of the Matrix. Do you want to go back into the Matrix knowing that none of it's real? It's all fake. Because even if like living in the truth seems unpleasant and you're surrounded by zombies and monsters, at least you know where you are. At least you've got your feet firmly on the ground. And this is also a Christian teaching about, if you build your house on like sand, it will fall down very easily. So by living in the truth, you've got your feet on, you're building your house on solid foundations. So you're going to be much stronger. You're going to be a much stronger person. You're going to be much more durable. You have much more endurance. There's loads and loads of benefits. There are kind of endless benefits, and there's loads of problems for not living in the truth. I'm just doing what's right by talking about this stuff. I'm continually kind of surprised that nobody talks about this stuff. It's hardly anyone ever talks about it, and that seems to me that's what makes people monsters. That's what makes the Matrix. All these sheep-like people, sheeple as they're sometimes called, keeping silent about it and not talking about it. Okay, so I think that's about it, really. I've covered everything I wanted to cover, more or less. I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching.